Some NBA talk. We do it every Wednesday with our good friend Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Check him out there. I'm sure he's got 17 pieces up there because he's like the only guy that writes for them. He's like the one, he's the guy. Right? Right?
I do most of the writing. Yeah, I've got some little help coming, help here and there. There is a team, but I right now do most of the writing. So
you are the team. You are like the
James Harden. I am the system.
You are. That's what I want to hear. Thank you. Speaking of James Harden, look, would it shock any of us? And I don't know if the seedings will work out in such a way. If we saw Celtics Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, would it shock any of us right now? I love the trajectory of the Cavs with Harden. I know that sounds crazy to say because it's Harden and we know his history in the postseason. I love what I see from the Celtics. I am not high on the Pistons, and I can't be high on the Knicks after what I saw from them last night on the road in Cleveland.
No, actually, I think here's the thing. All four of the teams you mentioned, it's going to be one of the four who comes out. I don't think Detroit's totally out of the question. They had a really standout game against this week against the Knicks as well. So, you can make a case for any of those four. There's also what's crazy is they're all four flawed. They're all four you can make the case against any of them. And I think Cleveland's weak, where you see them have the good game last night, have the beat the pants off the Knicks and look impressive, and then get smoked by the Spurs. Just smoked. And
Spurs are smoking but they've won 9 in a row. Look what they did against Detroit.
I think there's a gap between the top of the West and the top of the East.
Yes.
But in that East, those top four, I can make the case for any of them, and it's really going to come down to health. It's going to come down to, can the Knicks hit a few shots? But I'm beginning to think, and I think you mentioned this in a short recently, if Tatum's healthy, I might pick the Celtics, or relatively healthy, and can accept his role. That might be the best team to come out of there. And Cleveland, as weird as it sounds, with Harden, it just scares you, right? Because it's not like Cleveland doesn't have a history of playoff mess-ups without LeBron, and then you add James Harden to the mix, that'll solve the problem. So, you keep waiting for the bottom to fall out on that. But during the regular season, they've looked great.
I love what Harden has added to that team already. Yeah. And Kenny Atkinson even says he sees a different belief in this team with Harden there. Again, it's the early honeymoon stage. Everybody's happy. Everything's great. Yeah, I get it. Go ahead, Sam.
Kurt, you mentioned the Celtics, and we talk about the Cavs, and talked about it last week. Jared Allen continuing to look incredible with James Harden in that system. But with regard to the Celtics, Kurt, this is a team that just continues to win basketball games. Jason Tatum continues to rehab this Achilles, and it looks like he's still getting ready to come back. Where are you at with the Celtics? Obviously, you said that they could contend for the East, but where are you at with them with regard to the entire Jason Tatum situation? When do you expect they could bring him back? Should they bring him back? What does the run-in for him look like going into the playoffs?
Hey, 7 questions in one. That ought to work well. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, with him, I saw them this weekend in LA when they beat the Lakers, and the first thing that hits you is this is just a professional team that knows who it is, knows what they want to do, and executes it like they're a championship team. Even the core of this team, Pritchard and Jaylen Brown and Derek White and on down, they've got rings. They know what it takes. They've been there. I'll say this. Tatum's on the trip. And two things. They don't trade for Vucevic. They don't trade a wing in Anthony Simons for Vucevic at the deadline. And you don't have him playing a bunch of 5-on-5 unless he's there. They're refusing to put a timeline on this. They're saying all the vague things, but their actions are those of a team that expect him back at some point in March. And if he can come in and he's got to accept a role. He is not going to be the man now. He's going to be the number 2 guy to Jaylen Brown. If he can get into that role and thrive, that is just a team that knows how to play basketball right now.
Is there anything real quick, one more on the Celtics, because then I want to ask you one about the Knicks. Is there anything that tells you in Jason Tatum's DNA that he will be uncomfortable with taking the role that you describe?
I don't think so. I think part of what's going on in his comments are man, I don't want to mess up what they're doing. They're rolling. This is a good team right now. They have, look, if he doesn't come back, if they choose not to have him back this year, which is look, man, if it's close and it's, like, I think we've all been like, if you're not 100%, don't do it. If he doesn't come back, they still got a legitimate, like, they could win the East without him. They're
yes,
that good.
That's what I said.
They're legit. They have a legitimate chance. I think he is somebody who understands that and would accept the role. Like, I don't think his ego is, I got to be the man. But if he's the number 2 option, if Jaylen Brown is driving, they get the defense in a blender in rotation, you kick it out to Tatum to ISO or hit the jumper, I think he's willing to take that role.
Yeah, and Peyton Pritchard's been really good too. On the Knicks, is this just a case of a group that is so comfortable in their own skin that they feel like they can get to the postseason and flip a switch? Because at times it feels like that's sort of what this team is, just going through the motions. They know what it takes once they get to the postseason and thinking they can just flip the switch. And how dangerous is that?
Those teams tend to not be able to flip the switch, right? Like, there are exceptions. 2001 Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. There are exceptions to the rule, right? But those teams tend to flame out. And what's frustrating about that team is there are games they look good, and then there are games where they just, like, the offense isn't quite comfortable. They brought in Mike Brown to change the offense. It was too stagnant or whatever, too much Jaylen Brown pounding the ball, which it was. But I mean, Cat's had a couple of better games lately, but is he really comfortable in the offense? Are they really comfortable in the offense? They're so inconsistent right now, which just makes me really worried about them. And they've got to find a way. I mean, they're babying him now. Mitchell Robinson's got to play a lot in the playoffs. They need him big time. He is so critical for them.
He really is. He's such a game changer for them on both sides of the ball, really.
Yeah.
Kurt Helin's hanging out with us, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. He's going to hang out with us for one more segment. We'll get into some stuff from the Western Conference. We had a wild finish last night with the Lakers and Magic, and a lot of people asking what's going on here when it comes to Luka and LeBron. The finish to that game certainly leaving a lot to be desired. If you are a Lakers fan, Kurt and I will get into that. Sam's probably got some more questions as well. As we continue on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap Talking NBA with our guy Kurt Helin. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Coming up in 10 minutes, MLB ABS. We talked about it in the big story, and Sam and I will talk about it some more coming up. What would be the equivalent?
Dodgers the title now, just ending it.
What would be the equivalent? Like, what could the NBA do that would be the equivalent of MLB's ABS system, by the way? I'm just thinking about it.
They actually have the Hawkeye technology. They're using more with the tennis technology. They're using more, and they're trying to. What they wanted to do is help make out of bounds calls. Like, did the ball go out of bounds? Who touched it last? It's a little more complex than the tennis system where it's pretty clean, right? Like, here's the line where the ball bounced. But they've got it, and they want to use it more. They're using it on goaltending more this year. Like, they've got the technology. It's just not shown publicly quite the same way.
Interesting. See? Lakers last night and this wild finish with the Orlando Magic, where you got Luka getting the ball in like the typical Luka spot for what looked like an open three to try and win the game, down 110, 109. And he passes the ball to LeBron, who's like, why are you giving this to me? Who takes some crazy turnaround shot that clangs off the rim, and a bad loss for the Lakers at home last night to the Magic.
4-4 on a homestand. That's after their Grammy trip, and split by the All-Star game, but that's not good. That's not good enough. Although, frankly, it's what they are. Their record is, what are they, 10 or 11 games above 500, whatever the actual record is. Most of that's because they're now 16-4 in the clutch. They've just been better with Luka. That last play was bizarre because exactly what you said. I think he said it afterwards. He thought there was a little too much time on the clock. He wanted to hold it a second longer, but you got to take the shot, right? Like, you got to take the good shot when it's there. And it's not LeBron's fault. LeBron got handed a grenade and it was just like, got to throw it up and did his best. But Luka, sometimes he overthinks a little. He's been more complaining than normal, if I guess is the phrase I'm going to say, with the refs. He's just not in a groove right now. He's kind of frustrated, and he's still putting up numbers. He's probably still top 5 in MVP voting at the end of the year. But especially with this roster, he's got to be better because they don't have the margin for error around him to cover this up.
There are so many things going on with the Lakers, Kurt, and this is just going to turn into a Lakers segment.
No!
Because you have this quote that comes out. I don't even know if it was before or after the game, but sometime yesterday. And you and I talked last week about what the ownership change means for the Lakers and how that could change the culture there. But Rob Pelinka is going to stay within his power. And we know the ongoing relationship changes with LeBron James and how they're transitioning to this new era of Laker basketball. But what is the Lakers transition going to look like simply from this year into next year?
That's a really good question because, Rob Pelinka is going to, by all accounts, Rob Pelinka is going to hold on to this job for now. He basically, I get the feeling this is the test. This is the summer. I want to see your vision. I want to see you build out this roster around it. LeBron, look, I don't know anybody in the league who doesn't think he goes to Cleveland in some fashion for a farewell tour. I'll put it this way, and I'm not the only person to say this. I think Zach Lowe said this. That's the most likely outcome, or he retires, are both more likely than he comes back to the Lakers. And the only question with Cleveland is how much can they pay him and how do they make the money work? The Lakers' problem is what they need are a whole bunch of Herb Jones kind of players and a bouncy young center. You might be able to get a bouncy young center. There's kind of a glut of centers on the market. They can probably get one this summer. The most in-demand position, the reason Peterson might still go number 1, despite the concerns, is that elite two-way wing players are just hard to come by. There just aren't many of them. There's 29 teams looking for them, and the Lakers need about 3. And it's just going to be hard to get the kind of guys they need to thrive. The model's there. We saw it when Dallas went to the finals, right? And you had Derek Lively in the middle, and they had shooters surrounding them, and you either got to have Kyrie, or before that it was Brunson. Like you need the secondary shot creator. Reeves can be that guy, but you got to have guys, OG Ananobis of the world. You need those kind of guys around them, and everybody wants them, and the price is through the roof. And I don't know how the Lakers start racking them up, but those are the guys they need.
Talk me off the idea that I think if I don't know what the odds are on it, I don't have it in front of me, that I think the Spurs are going to wind up being the 1 seed in the West. Talk me off that idea.
Why would I talk you off that idea? The only thing that holds them back is that Shea comes back at some point and everybody gets healthy in Oklahoma City and they start winning at a faster pace and you just can't catch them. But
I mean, they're 2 games back and they probably own the tiebreaker already.
They are playing such great basketball, and such great basketball for a young team. They are so poised. Castle does not. I mean, the only question with them is like, are they ready for the gauntlet of the playoffs? But I'm beginning to think more and more that now that I've seen them a couple of times, they are kind of ready. That they've got Harrison Barnes, they've got some veterans in the locker room. This is an old organization, but Victor Wembanyama, the way he changes a game when he can get in and play 35 minutes a night, just flips the whole script. And them making the finals and winning it all is not out of the question anymore. It is. Before the season, I thought that would have been too big a leap. I no longer think that's too big a leap. I think that they are one of the 3 teams in the West, along with OKC and a theoretically healthy Denver team that are going to win this thing this year.
Sam, you got anything? Or otherwise, I have one more point on San Antonio.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay. They dismantled Detroit the other night.
Yes.
On the road in a game where Detroit basically said, we are going to bully and muscle Wemby that whole game. They didn't wither at all in that spot. No. I mean, that one was a real eye-opener to me as in if they get to the NBA Finals, they can beat whoever comes out of the East.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, their maturity is there. their maturity is their willingness to fight through the physicality. Like, you can be physical. That's the book on Wemby right now. Be physical with him. He still had 11 points and a handful of rebounds, and 4 blocks in the fourth, and a couple of blocks that nobody else on the planet makes. Like, a couple of those on Cunningham where he's like, I'm going to put the floater over you. Nobody can block this. Okay, well, there's one guy on the planet that can block this shot. By the way, that game was also pointed out the problems in Detroit and why some of us are not as high on them. The lack of shooting and the lack of a secondary creator when you bottle up, 5 of 26 from Cade. Who's the other guy who creates? It can't be Duran. They need that guy.
How much of it is an embarrassment of riches to be able to go from Greg Popovich to Mitch Johnson? I mean, there are teams that cycle through coaches, it feels like, every damn year. And they're able to go from Pop to this guy who's going to be there for at least the next decade.
Yeah, and it's funny. The first year, last year, there was a lot of questions around the league about how long he was going to last. He got thrown into the gig, 7 games into the season, whatever it was. And
looks like he's been there forever.
Looked like he was lost a little bit last year. And they're like, man, I don't know that he's that good. I don't know, they're going to stick with him for a bit because they're a loyal organization. But is he really the guy? Was really the question. And he answered it. Yeah, he's ready. He's ready for the job. He's ready for the role now. It took a year for him to find his footing. But yeah, he looks great in that job now. And really kind of clever X's and O's stuff to use to get them into spots.
Kurt, we kind of talked about it, and we didn't have enough time at the end of the segment, but we've talked about it in the past. We talked about it last week. We're staring down the barrel still, even more so at this point, of an all NBA team, an all NBA set of teams that has no Luka, no Shea, no Wemby, and no Joker on any of them. Is there any hope that this stupid 65-game rule is just going to be completely done with even before we get to the end of this season?
Not before this season. It is locked in for this season. If, as you say, and it is distinctly possible, right? Like, if Shea and Jokic and Wemby end up not qualifying, and Giannis is already not qualified, and although he's missed so many games, frankly, he would have been in real trouble anyway. And we end up giving the MVP to Cade Cunningham, who's been fantastic. Like, I don't want to shade Cade here, but Cade gets it as default because he's the best guy left standing. There's going to be some real pushback, and then we'll see if there's changes in the summer, because that would be a mess if that were the case. But it's not happening this year. This is going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to watch those guys who would normally get time off at the end of the season, right? Like, there'd be games where they just get off. No, Wemby's got to play 20-something minutes. Like, I think he can only miss a couple more. As Jokic can miss one more. Like these guys have to play pretty much every night.
Last one from me. We talk about the Thunder and the Spurs, and that really does feel like the 1A and 1B, however you want to rank them out there in the West. Do you give the Rockets a shot? Do you give Denver a shot? Is there anybody else? And maybe Denver's the team, because if they're healthy with Jokic and everybody there, is that the only other team you can see coming out of the West, if not the Thunder or the Spurs?
Yes, Denver healthy. Look, if one thing has been clear, like during this stretch, man, Aaron Gordon is so critical for these guys on both ends. He is the guy who can who can bang inside, but also step out and defend a Kawhi Leonard kind of wing, or Jaylen Brown. Like, they miss that. Plus, he's just glue on offense. He's just, what do you need? Rebounds? You need cuts? You need whatever you need. Some shooting? They can do it. They need him back 100%. And they have a chance. Houston, their late game offense, their offense in general under pressure, and I think what you'll see in the playoffs is what we've seen in late game, which is they miss Fred VanVleet's for generalmanship out top. They've got Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's great like he was in Golden State, right? Mm-hmm. When he's the outlet, when everybody's in a blender trying to keep up with Curry and Thompson, and okay, now we're going to flip it over to Durant, and he gets to ISO. He's great in that, and he thrives, and he's great with the late, he can go get you a bucket, but if he's the guy creating the offense at this point at age 37, if he's the guy creating it every time down. There's not enough shooting. There's not enough there right now. They're a player short, and for this year. And so, no, I'm kind of out on them. I'm obviously out on the Lakers. Been out for a while. It's one of those three teams will come out.
Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Always appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Take care, my man.